Shalom to the hopeful elect. All praises and glory to Yahweh, whom this world ignorantly call God, in the name of Yahweh Shai, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus, and the Rakakwadash, which is the Holy Spirit. I give you those names and those words in the Lashawan Kodash, the pure language. And this is to the elect, the 144,001 of those believers in the truth. Let's get to the bottom of it. Today, we're going to cover the word naturalized, and we're going to cover the word denaturalized. So in order to know what denaturalized means, the DE is a prefix, or come at the beginning of the word naturalized to denote, okay, I'm taking something away. So to decompose is to take away the composition of something, to break it down. So to take away. Okay, so naturalized. In the 1550s, admit an alien to rights of a citizen. Okay, I repeat, admit an alien to rights of a citizen. So whereas you were an alien before, you are given admittance to the rights of a citizenship, right? A citizenship is a membership to a state or a city. All right. So we have this article that's presented by ABC News. The title is DOJ looking at denaturalization for American citizens convicted of certain crimes. All right. So DOJ lawyers have been told to prioritize cases involving dangerous individuals. Okay, so they're prioritizing the cases involving dangerous individuals. All right, so U.S. Supreme Court rules on birthright citizenship order. The Supreme Court on Friday granted a partial stay of nationwide injunctions issued by district courts against President Donald Trump's executive order to effectively end birthright citizenship. It says here the Department of Justice is prioritizing revoking citizenship for some naturalized Americans who commit certain crimes, according to a DOJ memo posted online. All right, so what are those certain crimes? Let's get to that. So this was dated June 11th. Advance the administration's policy objectives as the Trump administration pursues its ongoing immigration crackdown. Okay, while attorneys are urged to prioritize cases involving individuals who pose a potential danger to national security, they say. Okay, the memo also states that they can seek out any other cases referred to the civil division that the division determines to be sufficiently important to pursue. So they're going to begin prioritizing certain cases. Okay, the civil division shall prioritize and maximally pursue denaturalization proceedings in all cases permitted by law and supported by the evidence. Okay, so whatever cases that they are looking at, that they're going to prioritize, which we'll get to in a second, they have to be supported by evidence. Okay, they have what they call a preponderance of evidence, right? Some of the cases U.S. attorneys should pursue are those against individuals who have engaged in torture, war crimes, human trafficking, and human rights violations, the memo says. Okay, so you see that right there. These are the crimes that they're looking at. Some of the crimes. Those individuals who have engaged in torture, war crimes, human trafficking, and human rights violations. Okay? So we're clear about it. While the denaturalization process and requirements are codified into law, immigration attorney says the memo changes how aggressively the Department of Justice plans to pursue these cases. So you have the word aggression there, so which means they're going to be going all in and prioritizing these cases. So it says here, federal agents, including immigration and customs enforcement, detain a person outside an immigration courtroom at Jacob K. Javits Federal Building in New York, June the 10th, 2025. So this here is what they would call an alien, right, who hadn't gained his membership as a citizen here, which would make him taxable. Because remember, it's a corporate business, right? A for-profit corporation that is the United States. And it's not an opinion, it is fact. Note that this is for entertainment purposes only. Take it with a grain of salt. This is for entertainment purposes only and for research. All rights reserved. Fair use, fair use. The memo clearly signals that Department of Justice is going to pursue more of these cases and not just against terrorists or war criminals. Even cases involving undisclosed criminal records or procedural errors during naturalization are now on the radar. Let me read that again. The memo clearly signals that the DOJ is going to pursue more of these cases and not just against terrorists or war criminals. Even cases involving undisclosed criminal records or procedural errors during naturalization are now on the radar. So what does that mean? So if there are procedural errors in the naturalization process, naming like when you were born, if it's undisclosed, right? You know, those procedural errors, they could have, you know, you could just, it's pretty much a wide spectrum of things that could have happened procedurally, right? That would just, it's broad and unambiguous, which means like it's too broad to really narrow down, right? But they're going to have a license to pursue these cases aggressively for United States citizens. So it says here, in the past 28 years of my practice, the government has generally left naturalized U.S. citizens alone. This is a departure from that mentality. So whereas United States citizens were generally left alone, now they're saying we're going to start picking on you. We're going to start going after quote unquote U.S. citizens, people with memberships to the United States corporation. This is what this is talking about. Okay, so according to a report conducted by the Immigrant Legal Resource Center in 2020, the government pursued denaturalization cases at a very low rate, averaging only 11 cases per year from 1990 to 2017. But those cases skyrocketed under Trump's first administration. So in 2018, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said that it intended to refer 1,600 cases to the Department of Justice for persecution. It says, you notice that word? It says, let me highlight that. It don't say prosecution, it says persecution. There's little nuances in language that we must pay attention to. That's why the Holy Spirit, it points out certain things. And I just caught that. All right, so let's get that word really quick. Let's see what persecution means. Hostility and ill treatment, especially on the basis of ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation or political beliefs. Let's read that again. What is persecution? Hostility and ill treatment, especially on the basis of ethnicity, the color of your skin, who your parents were, what nationality you are, religion, your personal beliefs, or sexual orientation or political beliefs, right? So if you go against what politicians are saying, and these are people who create policy. They're like the rules of a monopoly game. That's a policy. Okay, you got to stay within the bounds of the policy or you can't play. You know? That's what that is. That's what persecution is. Staying within the confines of a man's rules. Okay? So let's go back. You see that? For persecution, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said it intended to refer 1,600 cases to DOJ for persecution. So the DOJ doesn't prosecute, they persecute. Okay? Now, this is an interesting last paragraph. The DOJ memo also lays out 4 other priorities for the department, which include, end quote, out quote, ending anti-Semitism and taking legal action against sanctuary states and jurisdictions. So there's always something to this, and we just saw this and read this together. If you follow me up until this point and gained an understanding from this article, I've done my job. Hopefully you have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. All right, so with that being said, shalom to the hopefully elect. Do you believe on the Most High Yahweh, the power of the Israelites? Shalom to you. All right.